Good evening, and welcome to our midweek message. We're continuing our series looking at different subjects and themes within the book of Proverbs. And tonight we're going to look at a theme that is a little more under the radar in Proverbs, but in fact, the entire book could be said to be about this theme. I'm talking about character. Now, character, it's one of those nebulous subjects, something we talk about without really knowing what it fully means or how to define it. Character, to put it simply, is who we are. And not our personality or our preferences per se, but the kind of person we are. Are we the person of good moral character or questionable moral character? So in that sense, Proverbs is all about character because Proverbs is about forming us to be people of wisdom, of understanding, of integrity, of character. So someone who knows the difference between good and evil and then actually chooses the good, that's what we're talking about. And you may say, well, you can never really know someone's true character because we can't know someone's heart. Well, yeah, that's true, but here's the thing. Our actions show our character. Proverbs 10:9 says, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out." Your character will eventually make itself evident in your actions. You'll be found out. It's not content to stay hidden, especially if your character is questionable in nature. That's why Paul tells Timothy in 1 Timothy 5:24, "The sins of some people are conspicuous, going before them to judgment, but the sins of others appear later." You can't hide who you are forever. The state of your heart will eventually spill over into your actions. And what matters is not how we act when things are easy or going well, but when it's hard to be good. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point, which means at the point of highest reality." We don't really know who we are until we are put to the test. What truly matters, what truly shows our character is what we do when we are tested. It's easy to care about righteousness when it's your enemy that's sinning, and it's easy to tell the truth when it's not going to cost you anything. It's easy to love your neighbor when they're nice to you. But what really matters is when things are hard. Will we compromise? Where our heart is, that's what will decide. Jesus said in Matthew 12:34, "For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks." In Matthew 15:19 through 20, "For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person." Our actions and our words flow from who we are inside. Why is that? Well, in the Bible, we see that the heart is our inner person. It's the seat of our affections, our desires, our loves. Where your heart is, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Our affections, they direct how we live and operate. And what we love cultivates us. If it's goodness, then it'll cultivate good character. And if it's selfishness and pride, then it'll cultivate a self-centered character. That's why Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep or guard your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." And we usually use this verse to talk about something like dating, but it's not about dating. It's about guarding your inner person, your character, because from the inside flows all of your actions. So good character is about protection, really. Protection from our own self-destruction. Proverbs 10:8, "The wise of heart will receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin." Proverbs 11:3, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them." Proverbs 28:18, "Whoever walks in integrity will be delivered, but he who is crooked in his ways will suddenly fall." But good character is not just about our protection, but also the protection of others. This is why the Bible shows that it's so important that leaders be people of high character. Leaders are people of power and influence, and if they don't have high character, then they may use their power and influence in harmful ways. Remember that the book of Proverbs is written by kings to their sons to train them how to be good kings, kings of integrity and character. Listen to these words in Proverbs 31, 4 through 5. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to take strong drink, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and pervert the rights of all the afflicted. If kings are self-indulgent, all about their own pleasure and desire, and not focused on the good of the people, then the most vulnerable will suffer. And that's what we see in the Old Testament. The kings who were of low character hurt the entire nation. 1 Kings 14:16 talked about the sins of King Jeroboam. It says, when he sinned, he made Israel to sin. A leader's influence shapes the people. There's a trickle-down effect. People learn what is acceptable, what is honorable from their leaders. Character matters, even more so for those in power. Well, so if character matters, how do we cultivate character then? Well, we start off by realizing that character is about more than just following a list of commandments, as if all God cared about was the letter of the law. Remember, God is concerned about the heart. That's why in Matthew 5, Jesus tells his listeners that they shouldn't be content with just avoiding adultery. They need to avoid lust too. Why? There's nothing in the Ten Commandments about lust, so why is Jesus adding more rules? Well, he's not. He's telling us about what really matters, the heart, our affections. He's saying, yeah, sure, you haven't committed the act of adultery, but what kind of person goes around lusting after people they're not married to? A person of the same character as the adulterer. Instead of asking what rules am I supposed to follow, or the ever-present question, how far can I go without sinning? The real question should be, what sort of person am I supposed to be? That changes the whole equation, because then instead of just searching the Bible back and forth, trying to make sure there's not a specific black and white verse that condemns our little pet affections, we are looking at the bigger picture. Galatians 5 tells us the kind of person who we should be, one who walks by the Spirit, who displays love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those aren't rules. Those are virtues, fruits of the Spirit. And so when we come to some sort of dilemma, instead of asking, does the Bible directly condemn this? We can ask ourselves, would a loving person, a joyful person, a patient person, a kind person do this? And that can usually give us the answer or point us in the right direction. But this is hard work. It's much easier to just follow a list of rules than to work at cultivating and exercising wisdom in our life. If we just need to follow a rule book, then we don't need to evaluate our habits. If we just need a rule book, then we don't need to examine our affections too deeply. But some of the best things, the most valuable things, are hard work. Aristotle said both skill and virtue are always concerned with what is harder, because success in what is harder is superior. And Proverbs 28:6 put it this way: better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Integrity is so valuable that it's better that you were a poor, good person than a rich crook. One of the things that Proverbs is clearest about is that who we associate with cultivates our character, both for good and for ill. We may think we are above the fray, but none of us is invincible to the influence of others. Proverbs 13:20, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 22, verses 24 through 25, make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor go with a wrathful man, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. And Paul reflects these proverbs when he writes in 1 Corinthians 15:33, bad company corrupts good morals. Now, does that mean we can't ever be around sinners? No, you would be pretty lonely if you had to hide yourself from all the sinners in the world. But the key is, are you and the people around you trying to do better, trying to pursue the virtues, trying to pursue God? That's the question. Now, the point of having good character isn't so people will look at you and say, wow, what a good person. The point of having good character is so we can glorify God better, so we can reflect Him. That's the entire purpose of our life. And in that way, also, it separates us from the world, because the world is about trying to be good people for our own ends. But God is our external source of meaning and purpose. He is our objective standard. And without this purpose, without this standard, pursuing virtue is really just following the expressions of our own preferences or feelings about what's right. It's all subjective then, but that's not how followers of Jesus are to pursue character and virtue. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make straight your paths. When we pursue God, cultivate in our affections a love for Him, create habits that acknowledge Him as Lord over our life, then He will transform our hearts and our character. And look at the habits of the blessed man of Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight, that's his affections, is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. May we be people of high character and integrity who reflect God's heart and protect ourselves from self-destruction. Thanks for listening to our midweek message. If you've missed any part of our series in Proverbs, you can go to our YouTube page and check them all out, and be sure to join us this Sunday, either in person at the Bob Kiefer Center or online at 10 a.m. on the live stream. Have a great night.